I've been trying to find some interesting details about the Apple Watch Series 7, and I found 10 major things that would probably surprise you, from small improvements that might change the way you use your watch daily, to why Apple hasn't gone for that flat design in the end. So here's everything you need to know. Okay, so first things first, what actually happened with that leaked flat design? Well, there are basically two theories on this. Theory number one is that Apple fed fake information to leakers to rat out the moles inside their company. Theory number two is that Apple canceled the flat frame Series 7 last minute because of manufacturing issues and reverted to the old design. But I don't think either of these theories are correct, and here's why. The problem with the first theory is that this design has been reported by a lot of different leakers who get their info from totally different sources. John Prosser usually gets his from Apple employees, whereas Mark Gurman and Ming-Chi Kuo get their info from mostly supply chain sources. Yet, they all reported the same thing. Not only that, but we even saw the CAD model of the Series 7, which was posted by 91 Mobiles, a website that is very well known for providing accurate CAD models and renders well before a product's release. Apple would have had to accurately fool dozens or even hundreds of sources from both inside the company as well as from inside the supply chain, which I just don't see happening. The only way for Apple to fool so many people that well is for them to actually make the product but not launch it, which is pretty much what Theory 2 implies. Now, this theory does have a bit more credibility as number one, the current Apple Watch Series 7, even with its almost unchanged design, has been delayed to an unspecified date that Apple doesn't even know themselves, which could point to Apple indeed making a last-minute decision. And number two, Apple's own website for the Series 7 appears unfinished, with the Series 7 missing from the comparisons page entirely, as well as the spec page not being there. And number three, the last redesign, the Series 4, which matched the design of the iPhone X's frame, launched 1 year after the iPhone X. Therefore, this flat frame Apple Watch would have made a lot of sense to be launched a year after the iPhone 12's major redesign, which would have been this year. But I also think that this theory has its own flaws too. For example, no company can fully design, test, and do all the marketing materials in a matter of weeks, which is what this theory implies, that the flat frame Series 7 was cancelled not that long before the actual event. Also, the Series 7 does actually have a few case changes too, including some new colors. It doesn't just reuse the Series 6 case, but instead, it is the first case change since the Series 4. That's not something that you can do and test in a few weeks, so what's my actual take on this? Well, my own theory is that that flat frame design was indeed real, but it was only a prototype. Apple was just testing a different look for the Apple Watch, which never saw the light of day, maybe because it didn't look as good as the round models do, or maybe because it did actually have some flaws. And since Apple had a second prototype, which made changes to the existing case by making it bigger and increasing the display size, I think wires got crossed and leakers thought that that's clearly the flat frame design that's coming. At the end of the day, they were told that the Apple Watch is getting a new design with a flat frame, larger bodies, and a larger screen. And all of those actually happened aside from the flat frame. So this two prototype theory is what I believe to be the most likely scenario. And the delay that a Series 7 is facing, that could simply be due to the new display, which is a custom panel made for the Series 7. No other Apple Watch uses that, and of course the body changes, which are small, but like I said, they're still there. So this is what I believe happened, but do let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Speaking of those body changes, the new case sizes are now 41mm and 45, up from 40 and 44. Now, these are actually the exact same sizes that the leaks pointed at, another reason why I believe the prototype theory to be the more credible one. Apple was testing two prototype models, both with a 1mm case increase for that larger display. The metal case is now slightly more rounded in order to accommodate that new display, which now beautifully curves over the body of the Apple Watch. We also get three new colors. There's a new green that I'm not really a big fan of, but hey, at least it's new. Then there's a new Starlight, which is the new warmer silver, and then the new Midnight, which I absolutely love. It's got this grayish, dark blue color, and I'm actually very tempted to get this with my own Apple Watch and not the stainless steel model like I usually do. Also, the speaker grill is much larger now, and it's a single one rather than the two that we had before, and this does actually match up with the leaks. However, we don't yet know if this means that we're getting any improvements to the volume. Likely not, otherwise otherwise Apple would have said something. Personally, I am quite happy that they stuck with this design, as I've kept saying that a flat frame stainless steel Apple Watch especially would look less like a jewelry and more like a gadget strapped to your wrist. Okay, now if you have an Apple Watch or you're simply looking to buy one, then definitely do check out BandWerk, our sponsor for this video. BandWerk makes high-end Apple Watch bands with a variety of unique designs to suit everyone's taste. They even have these super rare editions where they craft the bands from the interior leather of popular vintage cars. All designs are handcrafted in Germany using premium natural leather, so you can expect some truly high-quality bands from BandWerk. They come in multiple finishes with the ability to customize the clasp and the brackets to perfectly match your Apple Watch. I find it pretty incredible that they offer clasps in the exact same finishes that Apple offers the Apple Watch in, including stainless steel and titanium. But the best part about BandWerk is that they don't just do Apple Watch bands, they also do iPhone cases, MagSafe wallets, AirPods cases, and even AirTag keyrings. They all come in multiple designs with different finishes, engraving options, and of course, the same handcrafted quality that you can already expect from BandWerk. Check out BandWerk by using the link below. If you're looking for faster performance, you would not be getting that here, as the Apple Watch Series 7 still uses the same Apple Watch S6 chip that the Series 6 had last year. However, according to Mac rumors, this has indeed been rebranded into an S7 chip, likely so that it still matches the name of this year's Apple Watch, although the performance metrics are exactly the same. There's only one change that it comes with, which is support for China's Beidou satellite, which could improve GPS tracking in some areas, but other than that, this is identical to the S6. In fact, it has been found that the S7 even carries the same identifier as the S6 chip. Apple did the exact same thing with the Series 5, where the S5 chip was identical to the S4, but it was renamed into S5 for naming consistency purposes. However, the S6 chip was already fast enough, with the Apple Watch already running all the animations at 60 FPS with zero lag whatsoever. Even my Series 5 does. My main concern in terms of the processor has always been power consumption, and luckily, we do have some improvements here. More specifically, the Apple Watch Series 7 charges faster by 33%. Now, that's pretty great because you might remember how I was constantly complaining about how I could never use my Apple Watch for sleep tracking, as the battery would be almost dead by the time I had to go to bed, and it would take too long to, get enough charge to track the sleep. And in the morning I would have to charge it again. So it was basically a pain and unusable for that. But with the Series 7, we now have a quick charge. With just 8 minutes of charge, that can give you 8 hours of sleep tracking, which basically solves my sleep tracking issue entirely. And not only that, but you can charge it to 80% in just 45 minutes. My Apple Watch Series 5 takes about an hour and a half to get to 80%, so it seems like I will finally be able to use sleep tracking with the Series 7. The Series 7 does come with a newer USB-C charger that allows for this faster charging, but unfortunately, this will not work with older models of the Apple Watch, as some of the charging internals have actually been revamped in the Series 7. Also, you will need a 20-watt USB-C charger to be able to use fast charging. Apple hasn't specifically said anything about this, but to me, it looks like the Belkin 3-in-1 MagSafe charger and similar accessories would not provide the Apple Watch Series 7 with faster charging, as you would need to specifically use that new USB-C charging cable paired with a 20-watt power adapter. But I will be testing the new charging and let you guys know if I can finally use it for my sleep tracking now, so do subscribe if you want to see the full in-depth review. Something that you might have missed is that the always-on display is 70% brighter now than what the Series 6 had, which was already 2.5 times brighter than what the Series 5 had. Now, that's pretty great. I cannot say that I've had any issues with seeing my always-on display indoors, as my Series 5 was already quite bright, but outdoors, it was indeed a bit of a different story, as I was constantly struggling to read the display without waking it up. Speaking of the display, there are a couple of things that I do want to mention here. You probably already know that the display is bigger by about 20%, thanks to the bezels getting thinner by about 40%. But the real question is, what advantages does this actually give you aside from the obvious? Well, apps have actually been optimized to display not just bigger buttons for ease of use, but also more text. So text utilizes the screen better now, but this isn't only because of the smaller bezels, it is also because of line spacing, which is less than on the Series 6. Therefore, you can fit more words in the same amount of space. This is clearly a way of Apple making you buy the Series 7 by intentionally making the text look smaller on the older models. We also get a new full-size QWERTY keyboard that is made possible thanks to this extra screen space. I always found that dictation works surprisingly well on the Apple Watch, but if you cannot talk, I guess it's good to have a full-size keyboard as opposed to having to scribble letter by letter. Other improvements thanks to this new display are the exclusive watch faces, like the modular max, the new contour face, and the new Nike Plus face. I really love the new contour face, as it takes full advantage of the more curved display. You can actually see it from the edge of the watch now, which kind of reminds me of the Galaxy 7 Edge. Really cool. And we also get improvements to existing watch faces, all of which are now slightly larger and easier to read. One thing to note here is that the Nike Plus watch face is exclusive to the Nike model. Speaking of the Nike model, I say this every year, but if you plan on buying the aluminum Apple Watch, get the Nike model instead. It costs the same as the standard model, and you get a really cool looking band, plus some unique watch faces that you cannot get on the other models. I have no idea why Apple doesn't increase the price of the Nike model to reflect these extra features. It doesn't matter, my point is, the Nike model offers more for the same price. Something that I was not expecting for Apple to improve is the overall durability of the watch, and they've done this in two ways. First, they added IP6X dust resistance for the very first time. Now, the Apple Watch was always dust resistant, but now it has an official rating, and the 6 means that it has the highest possible rating for dust resistance. Now, the X doesn't mean that it doesn't have water resistance. In fact, Apple gave it a separate WR50 rating, which means water resistance up to 50 meters of depth. And yes, this is the same as before. Now, Apple does say that you should only use your Apple Watch for shallow water swimming and not scuba diving or water skiing, which is strange as it directly contradicts this entire 50 meters of depth resistance. The second thing that they've done is that they made the front glass more resistant to cracking. In fact, Apple says that this is the strongest front crystal yet, which to me sounds like they've added sapphire crystal glass to the aluminum models too, as opposed to just on the stainless steel and titanium models. But then at the same time, a sapphire screen would be more resilient to scratches and not cracks. So maybe this is a new glass, a blend between sapphire and some other type of more crack-resistant glass. What I don't like is that they also made it more durable by making it thicker by 50%, which means that now you will have this pretty big distance between the display and the surface that you'll be touching. And now you're all probably wondering if your old bands would still work, and the answer is yes, with just one exception. A newly bought solo or braided toe loop would work with any Apple Watch that does not have the original design, so it won't work with a Series 3 or older. With any solo or braided loop bought when the Series 6 was released, it will work with any Apple Watch, potentially even with the Series 7. Speaking of bands, there are a couple of new ones, such as some new Nike Sport Loop designs and 2 new Hermes ones that have a very unique look, let's put it that way. I honestly cannot wait to get a Series 7 in the studio and test it thoroughly to replace my Apple Watch Series 5 with, so I hope you guys are looking forward to that too. I'm Daniel, this is Zen of Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zen of Tech, signing out. Cheers.